Hello, friends. This is CECA Australia. In today's webinar, I'm going to introduce you regarding the state nomination criteria across the various Australian state and territories. Myself, Harmeet Saini, Registered Migration Agent, CECA. So, this nomination criteria mainly focused on subclass 190 and subclass 491. So, what is the state nomination criteria? So, each Australian state and territories, they receive their annual allocations for visa subclass 190 and 491. So, first of all, you have to lodge your expression of interest, which is called EOI through Skills Select. And then each state has their own nomination rules, occupation list, and eligibility criteria, according to which they nominate the candidates as per their seats allocation, as per their various criteria like employment, like points, everything. So invitations are issued in rounds, and you cannot apply directly for these visas unless you got the invitation to apply for these visas. So state nomination are highly competitive, means they can close early once quota are reached. So each state has their allocation, like in the previous financial year, Victoria, New South Australia got the seat allocation of 5,000 seats each, and which was subdivided into subclass 190 and 491. So when this seat allocation quota reach to the maximum limit, then they stop accepting the application. So it's better to be prepared and to lodge application as soon as you can. So state prioritize the candidate who already living, studying, and working locally. Means in which state you're going to nominate, you have to be living and working in that state. Some state accept nomination from other state as well, like Western Australia. Last year they were accepting the nomination application from other states as well. But at the end, you can see if you go on the stats, they mainly invited the candidate who were living, working in Western Australia. So their major visa pathways for state nomination are 190 and subclass 491. If state nominate you for subclass 190, then you will get extra 5 points for the point test of Department of Home Affairs. If state nominate you for subclass 491 visa, then they allocate you 15 extra point for the state sponsorship. There are other classes of visas like 407, 482, 186, 494. All of these visas are employer-sponsored visas. You don't need any state sponsorship for these visas. Mainly, you need an employer who can nominate you for these visa subclasses. So there are temporary and permanent visas in those subclasses as well. So out of which 186 is a permanent visa, the rest are temporary visas. In case of skill visas, in 190 and 491, 190 is a permanent visa and 491 is a regional provisional visa. And it also granted you for 5 years, but after 3 years, you'll be eligible to file the PR visa in terms of subclass 191. And another category is direct 189 nomination. Sorry, not nomination, 189 invitation. So 189 visa is a direct PR visa. So it is allocated by the direct of federal government. They invite you according to your point, your employment, your score. In the last invitation round, they invited most of the applicant in various categories around 80 to 85 points, and some trade workers on 65 to 70 points as well. So now come to the state nomination, which is the main focus of today's webinar. Let's start with New South Wales. So New South Wales, it says your occupation must be on NSW skill occupation list. And of course, you have to meet the point test, English requirement, and skill assessment. So you must have competent English, you must have skill assessment ready, and you must have at least 65 points on the point system, on the point scale. So again, it's an invitation-based visa. You cannot apply directly. Now, what is the requirement for New South Wales nomination? So for visa subclass 190, the New South Wales says, first of all, your occupation must be on the New South Wales occupation list. Second criteria, I am telling about 190. So second criteria is the residency requirement. So you must be working in New South Wales in your nominated occupation. But if not, you're still eligible to apply, but you have to meet the residency requirement. For example, you have to residing in New South Wales and continuously in New South Wales for a minimum of 6 months, or residing offshore and continue to be offshore from the last 6 months. So when you apply for the nomination. So this is the main criteria for visa subclass 190. So approximately 150, 52, 58 occupations are included in the list, but some occupation like accountant, internal, external auditors, finance manager are still excluded as per they were not in the list last year, and also in this financial year list, they also excluded at the moment. Second is for 491 nomination. So New South Wales 491 nomination has 3 pathways. In pathway 1, NSW state government says if your occupation on any list of MLTSL, STSOL, or ROL, which is the Department of Home Affairs list. So they follow this list. So if your occupation is on this list, and also you meeting you meeting the employment criteria, like you working from last 6 months with the same employer, and then you eligible for pathway 1. So in this list, all the occupations are eligible, whether they are accountant, whether they are external, internal auditors, social workers, community workers, and enrolled nurses. So everyone is eligible to apply under this pathway. But main criteria is you have to be working in designated regional area in your nominated occupation from last 6 months, and also meet the TUSMIT, which is 76,515. So in short, if you're working in your occupation from last 6 months in designated regional NSW area and meeting the TUSMIT salary, you're eligible under pathway 1. So all occupation are eligible under these pathways. Even also government announced that they give some 10% concession to some occupation as well, which include motor mechanic, cafe, restaurant manager, and many more. Second is pathway 2. It's very common pathway. So in this pathway, it is directly invited by the investment NSW. So must have your occupation must have on NSW regional skill list. So I'm saying again, your occupation must be on the regional skill list. So either working in NSW in your nominated occupation, but if not, then residing in NSW for a minimum of 3 months, you're still eligible under this pathway. So on this pathway, if you are waiting for invitation under pathway 2, so you have to really work on your points. It is very competitive. So pathway 3 is the graduate pathway. In this pathway, if you recently graduated from a regional NSW institution, not from the Sydney, you have to be graduated from the regional NSW institution within last 2 years. So within last 2 years, if you gain any qualification with the regional NSW, so you're eligible under this pathway. And your occupation must be on the NSW regional skill list, and you working on your nominated occupation or residing in NSW from last 3 months. So these are the main criteria uh, for NSW state nomination for 190 and 491. Let's come to the next one, Victoria. It is comparatively more promising state at the moment. So this program of Victorian state nomination is already been open, but at the moment is still under interim allocation uh, stream 2025-2026, because main allocation is not disclosed yet from the federal government. So all the states are waiting for seats allocation at the moment, but whatever the seats available to them at the moment, say they conducting their invitation round accordingly. Even Victoria already conducted the invitation round previously last week. So at the moment, they have only 200 places, 200 places for 190 and 180 places for 491 visas. So their application process for Victoria is, if you're living and working in Victoria, so this is the main criteria. If you're living in Victoria only, then you're eligible to apply Victorian state nomination. So you need to lodge expression of interest through Skill Select, and then you need to apply registration of interest. So major priority sector for Victorian state governments are health and medical sciences, social and community services, education and training workers, construction and renewable energy occupations, digital technology and advanced manufacturing. All these occupations are in high priority in Victoria. So main criteria is you have to be living in Victoria. You eligible to lodge ROI with Victorian state government to seek nomination for 190 or 491 visa. For 190, you can live anywhere across Victoria, but for 491, you have to be living and working in regional Victoria. So major criteria is be committed to living and working in Victoria, must have ROI selected to get the nomination, and you must be under 45 years of age, and English, of course, for all visa categories of skills. In case you must have at least competent English, must have skill assessment valid, and have achieved at least 65 points on Australian government point test for your expression of interest. So now, another criteria, these are the common criteria for the eligibility of these visa subclasses. The main criteria for the ROI selection is also your salary. So what you earning in Victoria, if you're working on skill occupation. If you not working on any skill occupation, the skill occupation must be in the skill level 1, 2, or 3. So if your occupation not on the skill level, then you don't need to enter salary, whatever you're getting in your ROI. But if you're working on any skill, whether it is related to your nominated occupation or whether it is not related to your nominated occupation, is still eligible, but you have to have claim that salary from a skill occupation on level 1, 2, or 3. So if you are living working in skilled employment for an employer, and that employer has to be physically located in Victoria, so then you can provide the income estimate on your ROI. So some virtual office, proxy office which are not physically operating or have the office in Victoria, then you are not eligible to apply under this category. Other way, if people who are offshore and they're living offshore, then they also eligible to apply state nomination from Victorian government, but they don't have to claim earning in your ROIs. So same 491, you must be living on for offshore, or you have to be living and working in regional Victoria. Only then you'll be eligible for 491 nomination. So again, conclusion, for 190 you can live anywhere across Victoria, but for 491 you have to be living and working in designated regional area of Victoria. So these are the main criteria for the nomination, and rest is your employment. Let's come to the next one. So our next state is Queensland, the Sunshine State. So registration of interest is already open by Queensland. So its official program that's opening follow one final allocation confirmation for Department of Home Affairs. They're still waiting for the allocation like another state. So the main criteria for this skilled worker who living in Queensland, or people who living offshore, or those who graduated from Queensland, and those who operating some small business in Queensland. So all those people are eligible to apply state nomination from Queensland government. So what is the major criteria? So let me show you. Let's start with 190. Let's start with onshore people. So those who skilled worker living in Queensland onshore. So major criteria, they have their occupation on Queensland on scarce skill occupation list. So this state have their own occupation list and must score at least 65 points on the point scale of Department of Home Affairs, competent English, have valid skill assessment, and also have been living and working in regional Queensland from last 6 months for subclass 491, and they have to be living in Queensland for last 9 months, then they're eligible for 190 visa subclass. Work experience. So you can work in your nominated occupation or related occupation that match first 3 digits of NGESCO, and you can work up to 20 hours per week. So casual employment, or people who working on subcontractor, they also eligible. So if you at least working 20 hours per week, so you eligible to apply, but you have to be working in your nominated or closely related occupation. So casual and part-time employment are accepted. So, and another criteria for this, all occupation who are sorry, most of the occupation who are available on the skill list. So not all occupation eligible for 190 and 491. For 491, of course, all of those occupation are accepted. But for 190 visa, the occupation must be on the skill list of Queensland and Queensland state government, and also must satisfy the list of Department of Home Affairs, which is MTSL and short-term list, for especially for subclass 190. Means your occupation must be on either on these 2 lists and must be on Queensland skill list as well. So only then you're eligible for 190. And skilled worker who living outside Australia, for offshore candidate, so they have to follow, there is a different skill list, that is Queensland offshore skill list. So their occupation must be on this list, and they must have at least 1 year of work experience in their nominated occupation. Then offshore people are also eligible to apply under this category. Third category is building and construction worker. This is the new category introduced in Queensland. So if you working in Building and construction worker. In that case, your occupation must be on Queensland onshore skill list, and you must have at least 65 points and competent English, and you must be living and working in Queensland from the last 3 months. The 6 month was previously for another category, but if you're working in construction field, in that case, if you work only for 3 months, you're still eligible under this stream, and it is highly prioritized. Another one, Queensland University graduates. So people who obtain bachelor degree, master degree, or PhD degree from Queensland universities or any tertiary institution within the Queensland, if you obtain these qualifications, then you eligible under Queensland University graduate streams. And you have to have completed this qualification 100% from the Queensland University, not any migration in between. And you must be graduated after 1st of July 2021. Work experience, again, same criteria for 491. You have to be working for 9 months and 6 months for 190. Another stream Queensland also introduced, that is for small business owners in regional Queensland. So interesting stream. In this stream, there are different pathways, but major criteria is if you're going to start your business now, if you're thinking after 19th of September 2025, then they close this criteria. You're not eligible to file nomination under this stream. But another pathway says there are two pathways, pathway 1 and pathway 2. Under this pathway, if you already established your business within Queensland or Southeast Queensland, there are two categories. Pathway 1 is you purchased a business. Pathway 2 is you establish a business. So let's talk about purchased a business. So to be eligible under pathway 1, you must purchase an existing business outside of Southeast Queensland and have to spend $100,000 and employed at least one Australian resident. So if you purchase any business, minimum of $100,000 and you employed at least one Australian resident, then you eligible under pathway 1. So Australian resident means that has to be either Australian citizen or Australian PR holder. So there are two stream under this pathway. One is if you purchase business between certain times. So according to time, if you purchase between 14th of September 2024 and 19th September 2025, means last September to this September, 14th of September 2024 to 19th of September 2025, then you must lodge your nomination application before 30th of September 2025. Up to 30th September 2025, you establish you make all the payment and on that business. And both you and your business must be allocated in September 2024 list of eligible postcode. They describe some postcode under which your business and your location must be in the same place. But if you purchase business before for September 2024, 14th of September 2024, in that case, your business may be located in any 491 eligible Queensland list, postcode list, and business settlement before 1st of July 2024 need to lodge nomination application till 21st December 2025. So means if you purchase your business before 14th of September 2024, you must lodge your nomination application before end of December 2025. Another category in the same field, if business settled after 1st of July 2024, then you have 18 months from the date of settlement to submit your 491 application. So these business owner regional Queensland streams, they basically for the 491 visa, not for the 190. Pathway 2, before that I was discussing pathway 1. So there is another pathway in this stream, the pathway 2. This is for they who start up their own business. They have not purchased any previously running business. They established their own business within the recent year. So for this pathway, to be eligible for pathway 2, you must have started your own business and continuously running that business for minimum of 2 years. Business started between 1st of June 2024 and 19th September 2025 are eligible under this stream. Business may be located in any subclass 491 eligible Queensland regional postcode, means the postcode which are eligible for 491 visa and designated area. So they eligible if you started your business in those areas, so eligible. But you must have turnover of at least 200,000 in the last 12 months. Then you eligible under this pathway. Another one, if you started your business before June 2024. So then again, your business can be allocated anywhere within Queensland, 491 designated area list. But you have to submit your 491 ROI before 30th of May 2026. So means if you started before June 2024, then you're eligible to submit your ROI till May 30th of May 2026. So your occupations for these business categories, they have to follow the main occupation list of Department of Home Affairs. There are 3 lists which are mentioned on IMI, LIN 19051. And you must show the evidences that you're living in regional Queensland in the eligible postcodes. Own and operate your business in the eligible postcode in regional Queensland. Means you must be living in those designated area and also establish the business on those designated area, and must own 100% of business ownership. So these are the mainstream for Queensland. Now move on to the another one, which is one more state is left. It is not here. ACT, sorry. Yes, Canberra. Queensland done. ACT, Canberra. Yes. So Canberra has their own criteria. They uses Canberra matrix point system for both subclass 190 and 491. So more you score on Canberra matrix, there are more chances to get the invitation, and also need to satisfy the general requirements of English qualifications and residency in ACT or Canberra. So at the moment, like Victoria's, ACT also have some interim allocation. They already started their allocation program, but seat allocation is not given yet, so still waiting for that allocation for big invitation rounds. So now let's come to the what are the main requirements for Canberra. So ACT nomination criteria, there are 2 different pathways for 190 and 491. So one is Canberra resident and overseas resident and doctorate stream nomination criteria, means who done the PhD or doctor level degrees. So first, let's come to the general Canberra residents, people who are living and working in Canberra. For 190 nomination, you must be living in Canberra for last 6 months, but you have to have working minimum 30 hours per week. This means if you are a work restriction, like you are on student visa or any other visa and having the work restriction and can't work 30 hours per week, then you're not eligible under this pathway. And your occupation must be on ACT critical skill list, And if you're working on 482 visa, in that case, you have to be working from last 6 months with the same sponsoring employer, and employment could be on the Home Affairs skill occupation list. Does not matter it is on ACT critical skill list or not, but if your occupation on Home Affairs skill occupation list and you're working 6 months from the same sponsoring employer, then you're eligible under this stream for 190 nomination. For 491 nomination, you have to be living in Canberra from last 3 months and must be working in your nominated occupation for at least 15 hours per week. And also they give some relaxation for the neighbor suburbs as well. If you're living nearby, whether the suburb in the border town of Canberra, whether it is in NSW, the border town, still you eligible under for 491 nomination. For example, I can give you one example, the suburb like Queanbeyan. It is the neighbor suburb adjacent with Canberra and New South Wales. It is suburb of New South Wales, but share the boundaries with ACT. So if you're living in Queanbeyan but working in Canberra, so you're still eligible for this nomination. And same if you're working on 482 visa, in that case, 6 months requirement is there. You have to be working from last 6 months with the same sponsoring employer, then you're eligible for 491 nomination. So overseas resident, if you're applying from overseas, then you must be overseas from last 12 months. For 190 nomination for overseas worker, you must have 3 years of relevant work experience, and occupation must be on ACT critical skill list. And for 491, you must have 1 year of work experience, and occupation must be on the ACT critical skill list. For doctorate stream, in this case, you must study from the ACT University. If you're living in Canberra and you have completed a research degree or professional doctorate degree at an ACT university, then you're eligible under this stream. But if you're not living in Canberra at the moment, or you are offshore applicant, in that case, you must have awarded that research or professional doctorate degree from ACT University within last 2 years. So if last 2 years you studied from ACT, now at the moment you're living anywhere in Australia or offshore, you're still eligible for 491 nomination under this category. So this is the criteria for ACT government. Next, if any state left, I think Tasmania, the important one. Let's come to Tasmania. So same like other state. So 2025-2026 seat allocation is not disclosed yet, but registration of interest are open. So state government started to accept ROIs, and state is already in the process of conducting nomination round as soon as they get the seat allocation. So there are various streams under Tasmania nomination program. This is designed for basically who studied from Tasmania, or skill employees who working in Tasmania, or if you established a business in Tasmania, so, or overseas worker who have the job offer for Tasmania. So all those categories are eligible to file the state nomination with the state government. So let's come in detail. Give you some idea for state nomination program for Tasmania. So Tasmania State Migration Program is open for the people who want to move or to settle in the state and who have the skill which is prioritized in Tasmania for this financial year. And they clearly state that they're going to prioritize health sector and education sectors. Health professionals and teachers, they give the most priorities for this financial year. Now they have the different stream. So first one is Tasmania Skill Employment Pathway. So means the skill employees who working in Tasmania, which is TSC, Tasmanian Skilled Employment Pathway. So TSC pathway for 190 visa. Their criteria is if you have worked in Tasmania in a job in the nominated occupation or closely related occupation, means you share the 3-digit NGESCO, then you have to have worked in Tasmania for 9 months, but they give relaxation to the people who worked 6 months in health or teaching sector. In that case, they accept your nomination under this pathway. Means mainly you have 9 months requirement, residency requirement, employment requirement. But if you're working in the critical sector like health or teaching, then if you work 6 months, you're still eligible to apply under this pathway. So if you're not working health or teaching profession, then a 9-month criteria is applicable on you, and your employment must be listed on TSC priority occupation list. So they have their own list. So your occupation must be on that list, and you worked at least 20 hours per week. If you are self-employed, in that case, you have to work 12 months. Your business activity must have 12 months, and you must have relevant skill assessment in the same sector. Another is TSC. Second is TSC long-term employment option. In this case, if you have worked in Tasmania in your nominated or closely related occupation for at least 15 months, in that case, you eligible under TSC long-term employment pathway. So either you applying under long-term pathway or either you applying under priority occupation pathway. So you must have worked at least 20 hours per week and must be currently living in Tasmania from last 3 months. So residency requirement is there. You can't directly apply nomination if you're coming from the different state. And your salary must be 57,000 per year or 28.85 per hour. So you have to meet this requirement to seek nomination under this pathway. It means you have to satisfy the residency, you have to satisfy the employment criteria as well. Now come to priority attributes. So under this pathway, any pathway you going to apply for to seek nomination from state government, you have to gain some passes. Means like in Canberra, they make the Canberra matrix. Similarly, now Tasmanian government introduced, they also introduced last year as well, the priority attributes. By considering these attributes, they invite you and they name these attributes like gold, green, orange plus, and orange. So which attribute, which sort of pass you gain, you give the priority accordingly. So I'm giving you a little bit information about this attribute. For example, gold, it give you 1,000 points. How you get this pass? So if your skill assessment in health or teaching occupation, and you're working in this occupation from last 6 months, plus meeting the salary requirement, as I said, 57,000 per year or base salary 28.85 per hour. In that case, you eligible for gold pass and you will be given the highest priority for nomination. And this is give you 100 points, the gold pass, if you living and if you're working on health or teaching occupations. Second one is green. It gives you 500 points. If you employed in Tasmania from last 2 years in the role in your nominated occupation or closely related occupation and earning at least 57,000 per year or the same base rate 28.85. So if you meeting this pathway, you're working for last 2 years in your nominated occupation, then you're meeting the green pass. So what the main difference? In the gold, you have to be working in priority sector. So, but if you're not working priority sector, then you're eligible for the green pass. So, and you have to be working for last 2 years, and it will give you 500 points. The green pass for 300 points also available. If you have been employed in Tasmania for the past 18 months, so in the last 500 points, you have to be working for 2 years. But if you're working less than 2 years, so you're working for 18 months or less than 2 years, then you're eligible for 300 points. You still get the green pass, but you will get the 300 points. Third one is Orange Plus. For Orange Plus, if your employment has a salary of 102,956 per year or 52.10 per year, in that case, you eligible for Orange Plus, but it will give you only 40 points. So means you are not working in your nominated occupation, you're working in some other occupation in that case, but you're getting a higher salary, more than 100, at least 102,956 per year or 52.10 per hour in that case, and you're receiving this from last 12 weeks, means 4 months approximately, 3 months. In that case, you're eligible for 40 points for Orange Plus stream. Otherwise, you're eligible for 30 points under the same pass, Orange Plus, if you have at least 2 years of Australian work experience in the same industry as your nominated occupation. So you worked anywhere across Australia and you worked 2 years in that nomination and currently earning at least 57,000 per year or 27.85 per hour. That case, you're eligible for 30 points under Orange Plus. Third one, same category under Orange Plus, another criteria, again for 30 points. If you employed in Tasmania for more than 12 months, so if you worked in Tasmania for more than 1 year, then you're eligible for 30 points. And the last one, I said you had to be working for 2 years, but in this case, you're working more than 1 year, but up to 18 months. You're not completing all 2 years, then you're eligible for 30 points. And last attribute is Orange. In Orange attribute, there are different point categories. For example, you get 1 point if you get the proficient or superior English. 1 point you get your spouse has completed minimum AQF level 6 qualification through Tasmanian education provider. 6 point if you have been employed in Tasmania for more than 9 months but less than 12 months. So like this, and there are another category, 10 points you will get if your base salary is at least 68,863, or 15 points if you're getting salary at the Tasmith level 76,515. So if you're meeting all this requirement, you'll be eligible for Orange Pass. So at least if you have Orange Plus or Green Pass, then you have more chances of getting the invitation. If you have Gold Pass, then you are on the highest priority for Tasmanian state government to nominate you. Similarly, for subclass 491, I was discussing for subclass 190. Now, if you come to 491, so attribute criteria is same for both subclasses. But for 491 under TSC scheme, Tasmanian Skilled Employment Scheme, so if you working in the role that pay you 57,000 per year, so doesn't matter on which occupation you are working. So if you're working on this salary, then you're eligible under this pathway. And you have to be working in Tasmania for at least 9 months immediately before applying. And your working hour, the same, at least 20 hours per week. And you have to commit to live and working in Tasmania after getting the visa. And your dependent, if you married and you have the dependent, they must be living in Tasmania when you lodge the application. So they don't have to be in another state. So be careful when lodging this nomination applications. If you're self-employed, in that case, it's not giving you the chance that you can work in any occupation. If you have skill assessment, something else, and you're working on any other occupation, then for self-contractor, people who are working on ABN, they're not eligible under this pathway. They have to have work in your nominated occupation, and they have to operate their business activity for at least for 12 months. Then you're eligible for 491 visa. So this is for subcontractor. And your job need to match with your skill assessment, of course. So you have to be working with in your nominated occupation if you are self-employed. Other way in the same category, suppose those who are not working on that base salary, which I mentioned, that you have to be working on 57,000 or 28.85 per hour. If someone getting less salary, but at least a national minimum wages level, in that case, you must have worked in Tasmania for at least 12 months. Otherwise, it was 9 months. Now it is 12 months if you're not getting enough salary compared to the basic level, which we recently discussed. But working hours same, you must be working at least 20 hours per week. And must be currently living in Tasmania, and your dependent but also living in Tasmania. They can't live in another state. Another stream is Tasmanian Skill Graduate Pathway, TSG. Under this stream, as the name suggests, you must have some qualification from Tasmania. For 190 visa, you must have completed a course with the Tasmanian Tertiary Institution, and you must lived in Tasmania for at least 2 years. So if you graduated from Tasmania, living in Tasmania from last 2 years, then you eligible under this for 190. For 491 undergraduate pathway, if you completed a course from Tasmania and have lived in Tasmania for at least 1 year, then you're eligible for this pathway. Credit transfer or internal transfer of university is not acceptable. All study must be from Tasmania. Only exemption is for PhD holders. If you're doing PhD, started PhD in another state, but completed and at least resided for 2 years and completed those last 2 years from Tasmania, then you're eligible under this pathway. Another is Tasmanian Established Resident Pathway, TER. Under this pathway, you must be living in Tasmania for at least last 3 years. So if you're living from last 3 years, then you're eligible under this pathway. And employment, you must be working that paid, again, the same level, 57,000 per year or 28.85 per hour in the last 12 months. So if you're meeting this employment criteria, you're eligible for DER 190 stream. For 491, under the same stream, you must be lived in Tasmania for at least 2 years. So it was 3 years for 190. For 491, the requirement is 2 years, and salary employment requirement is same, that is 57,000. Another criteria, last one, is Tasmanian Business Operator Pathway. So people who are operating their business in Tasmania. So you must have established operated business in Tasmania from last 12 months. And that business must be owned by you or combined with your partner. So you don't have any other sharing. So must be 100% owned by you and your partner, or either you 100%. So, and must have a profit after paying your salary of at least 85% of the temporary skill migration income threshold, which is 65,037. So must be in profit. You can't show your business in loss. Massage therapist, they must have skill assessment if they operating such business in Tasmania. And important, subcontractor or ABN, people working on ABN, so they are not eligible under this pathway. Means you must have established business in the name of limited companies or trust. So only those people are eligible under these pathways. So these are the basic nomination criteria of major states. Some other states like Northern Territory, Western Australia, South Australia, they have not disclosed their allocation yet. And as soon as we get any update, South Australia, they recently updated. So their requirement is same, like if you're working in your nominated occupation from last 12 months, you're eligible for the state nomination. If you're working in Adelaide or nearby area, but if you're working in the outer South Australia, so the requirement is 9 months. So, but main requirement is you have to be working in your nominated occupation. This is major requirement. Their invitation round will start as soon as it allocation will disclose. So this is how I explained in brief the criteria for various states, how they make criteria to nominate people for state nomination under 190 and 491 pathways. So mainly strategy for state nomination, you continuously have to monitor state migration website. So any update as soon as they get, so need to be ready to launch their ROI applications whenever you're eligible. And also keep your EOI and ROI update, means your English test, your skill assessment, if you claim point against NATI or any professional year, everything must be updated. And if you claimed any partner points, so that have to be updated accordingly. So submit ROI on time. As soon as you're eligible, submit it on time, because as I stated in the start of this webinar, that this nomination process is highly competitive, and it close even before the end of financial year, as soon as state reach their allocated quotas. And your regional work experience and your education, if you have taken any education from regional area, they give you strength your application and strong advantages for 491 nomination as well. So this is the major criteria. Last one is 189. So this is actually not the topic for today's webinar. I mainly focused on state nomination, but still 189, I can tell you that this is the direct PR pathway. There is no need for state nomination or any employer nomination, anything on this visa, but you have to meet the points. Your age must be less than 45, have enough points on the point test of Department of Home Affairs, must have valid skill assessment in the MLTSL list. And if your occupation on that list, then you're eligible under this pathway. And in the last invitation round, the government usually invited people over 80 to 85 points, or construction worker nearly 65 to 70 points. So, but minimum requirement to get eligible under this pathway is, again, you meet at least 65 points. So if you're eligible and your occupation on 189 list, so definitely I encourage you to apply under this pathway as well. So if you have any question, you still have confusion regarding the state nomination, and want to check your eligibility, so you just keep contact us, our nearest CEC office. Let me take questions somebody asked for disability support worker. Is their pathway for PR? Margi, for disability support worker, at the moment, there is no direct PR pathway under state nomination, but under DAMA reason, you can apply under employer sponsorship schemes for disability support worker. But if you're working as a resident care officer uh, or at the manager level position, and you have at least diploma level qualification, then you eligible for 19491 nomination. But normal disability support worker, they are not eligible. Only you have to go for a labor agreement scheme. So if anyone have more question and want to check their eligibility for state nomination, please do contact us or call me directly. I will answer your queries and we will check and update to help you to lodge your EOI and ROIs accordingly. And that's all for today. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time, guys.